Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Proud Skill Worker. Today, we're talking with Phillip. Phillip, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day, definitely out of your life. We're probably either interrupting the gym or sleep. So both of those things are important. So I appreciate you giving us time. Phillip, do us a favor. Tell us your story. How you got into the trades, where you started, how you got the skill work, where you're at now in the area of the country. Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Yeah, basically born into the trades. My dad was a dirt worker and always had a couple pieces of heavy equipment on the farm. And then he's a high stress pipeline welder. My brother's a master electrician, and my little brother's going to get his journeyman HVAC. And then I, straight out of high school, even a little bit before that, I worked for a guy, my best friend's dad. He fixed every sort of appliance from residential to commercial. And then he also worked HVAC from residential to commercial, also a refrigeration guy that more so specialized into the different ways of making refrigeration applicable to different production needs and whatnot. So that's who I learned it from, refrigeration in particular. And then from there, any other job I've had, anytime production was slowing down, instead of having short days, I kind of just got tossed into maintenance because I've always been good at that. And then the way I got connected with skill work is I was working up in Fremont and then quit that job, got a hold of Ethan. And from there, it took a while to get on because that company was actually using skill work that I had quit. So I had to wait a little bit. And then a year or two later, I got a hold of skill work again and ended up getting sent down to Texas. And now I'm up here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Those are both geographically and temperate, the same climates, right? So you didn't have to change
Yeah.
what you were bringing with you. Or so no jacket needed from
Oh,
Texas to
yeah.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. Texas during the summer and Milwaukee during the winter. So it's pretty interesting.
You did it backwards, Phillip.
Yeah. That's what I hear a lot. That's what everybody's telling me.
No, both those places are great. Both those places are great. I love it. As you've been along your journey here, what do you think has been your biggest challenge that you've come across? What do you think has been the hardest part for you? Not necessarily, maybe it's the travel piece, it was people. What's been the most challenging for you, Phillip?
Yeah, probably definitely the people aspect. I had a great mentor, Zach Bentley from Red Oak, Iowa. Right off the bat, he taught me probably 90% of everything I know. So from there, it was really just the people part. A lot of people can't check their ego at the door when they walk into work. So you're dealing with a lot of people that want to look like they know everything and want to have the credit for every little bit. So that was the biggest hurdle for me, was just stepping back and saying, it's not really that big of a deal as to who gets the credit and whatnot. Things with dealing with people, it's just not, as long as the problem gets fixed, that's what matters. These other little things, I think, as you get older, you just realize that they're not as important as everybody thinks they are. So admitting when you don't know something too as well. A lot of guys, especially in the trades, everybody's going to dog you on everything. Even if you are doing a good job, somebody's going to pick some, whether they're being serious or they're just giving you a hard time joking around. It feels like you're under pressure 24/7, but really at the end of the day, as long as everybody's safe, all that other stuff is just petty stuff that no one really cares about in the long run. It's more of I think, a personal thing than anything.
Yeah, I think you're right, though, right? The most challenging part sometimes is understanding the role we have to play and not trying to be the only one who can fix the problem, right? We all have a role to play in every situation we're in, but it's not always the role, right? We're not all the leading character in our own stories.
Right.
So sometimes you're a helper. Like,
Right.
just be okay with that. And we've all been there, right?
100%. 100%.
Flip side of that, because I like to be an optimist at the end, what's the most exciting part of your career? What's the most exciting part of what you've got to do so far that you like to do most?
This place is pretty exciting. They have a rough estimate of 257,000 pounds of ammonia. I just think that the scale of this whole operation that I'm at in Milwaukee, Wisconsin is just impressive, to say the least.
That's a lot of ammonia.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, everybody's on the same page. with what needs to be done. Safety's getting taken care of. It's really not too stressful, but at the same time, you always have to be aware of how potentially dangerous a lot of this we do. And not just with ammonia, but with every trade out there, a lot of things can get pretty dangerous pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think that ties in really well to the mini series we're doing right now, Philip. So we're doing this mini series on kind of the skills of trades and the skills of maintenance that everybody should have. So if I were to ask you from your career path, or even maybe your brothers and dads, kind of what would you say you would say that seen are the most valuable and most important skills? Like, what are the 3 or 4 most important skills that someone should have if they want to succeed in maintenance or in the industrial space as a whole?
Yeah, obviously, yeah, safety first. Everybody wants to go home safe. Nobody wants to see anybody else get hurt. And then having confidence, but at the same time, being able to stay humble. When you're in the trades, it's really hard to step outside your comfort zone, because if you mess up, everybody's going to be dogging on you. And even if it's something petty. So a lot of times when you do something, mess up something small and everybody dogs on you, you don't want to step up to the next level of whatever you're learning, because if you mess up that one thing and everybody was dogging on you, what if you mess up an expensive piece of equipment or something along those lines? So it's hard to step outside of your comfort zone, but you need to in order to grow, and everybody messes things up, so don't take it hard too much. But at the same time, remaining humble in that you will never know everything. A lot of these older guys that I work with that know, like, they've been doing this as long as I've been alive. So, and they even forget things. So it's like even them sometimes, need a little help, but those times are few and far in between. But everybody doesn't, or no one knows everything. So always remain humble. But yeah.
I think it's interesting. You run a safety, right? Safety as a skill is a mindset and an awareness thing. So how do you think someone can improve or hone in on safety being a valued skill? Because unfortunately, we say safety is most important, and I believe it. I do believe that. I think you believe it. But at times people get a little flippant with the word safety. They're like, oh, safety. Oh, it's a safety. Like,
Right.
how do you stay in the mindset of safety without compromising the work ethic or that needs to be done? So where do you think that balance is?
Sometimes you kind of got to use your own judgment, especially diagnosing machines that you have to see operate maybe without a guard or something on there, because you need to see the mechanical workings of that piece of equipment as it's functioning, or you need to test the amps, and you have to have it on and running under. You might even have to apply a load to it to see what your amp draw is. But you just have to be mindful of the potential hazards you're working with. Like when you're working with a lot of electricity, that arc can jump off of there. Even though you're not touching anything physical, you just have to be aware of whatever you're working with. Steam and ammonia can get, if the conditions are right or whatever, it can be pressurized. A lot of times there are PRVs. There are safeties built into pieces of equipment, but you just have to be extra cautious with everything you do. But like you said, yeah, it's just something you have to be mindful of. And I think taking a step back when you're under pressure to get something fixed as fast as you can, because downtime's adding up, and in the industrial world, that's thousands of dollars for every, I don't know, probably minute in some cases of line being shut down, not only on wages being paid out, but on product not being sold because it's not being produced. You're under those types of situations under pressure, and you just have to take a step back and realize that rushing a job isn't going to fix it any faster. And in most cases, it backfires, and you rush something, you forget something, and you forget to tighten a bolt all the way. You just put it on hand tight, and next thing you know, you mess something up, even worse, causing more downtime. So if you just take a step back and realize that the world's not going to end if this doesn't get fixed in 5 minutes, sort of thing, and being realistic on a lot of the things you have to fix. A lot of places require lockout tagout procedure anyways. So a lot of the times that's going to be your standard operating procedure, and your standard operating procedures are what you need to go by regardless of what anybody says, unless you get something in writing of you deviating from that standard operating procedure. But yeah, it all goes back to just being mindful of what you're doing and what you're working on.
Yeah, you hit on it, right? And I want to highlight it because I think it's important and it's pivotal for safety. Is regardless of the pressure, regardless of what people are saying, regardless of what people are asking you to do, you as an individual or anybody, ultimately that action is going to come down to you. If you choose to violate a safety procedure because of pressure, because someone told you to, because you were asked to, and something goes wrong, it's coming back to you.
100.
Now you hit the caveat, right? Unless a safety manager comes in and rewrites an SOP for you or puts in writing and signs off on something, then you're good to go, right? Somebody who's come in, evaluated the situation and told you to do it. But in most cases, what I see is guys who were asked by somebody who's more senior than them to do a thing, and they do it, it goes wrong, and then everyone's, you did it. I was told to. That's not you were told not to, actually.
Yeah.
In your training.
Oh, yeah.
And you were just told to that one night. So it's imperative to know, no, this is your responsibility to say no to this and to ensure that if you are going to deviate from SOP, someone put it in writing and you have a copy of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Phillip, as we talked through those skills, we talked about be safety mindset, be humble, and be confident in what you're doing. Those three things, how would you combine those? So if you were able to say one thing to the industry as a whole, right? Every technician on the planet, your dad, your brother, all the people you're working with, all the people you've ever worked with are going to hear you. What's the one thing you'd like to say to everybody in the industry that you think would move the ball forward for them?
I think maybe teamwork, being able to rely on your team members or your coworkers and all having a positive mindset. I think it helps everything down to production, safety, and everything is good communication and understanding people. Everybody's going to have an off day. Don't take it to heart. Some people are going through personal things, and just people being able to work together makes the workplace not only funner to be in, but safer. A lot of guys just want to come into work and go home and get paid. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of other things going on in a department or a workplace, whether it's maintenance or production. I think if everybody would just be there to help each other and lift each other up instead of tearing each other down is what you see more often than not, I think the industry as a whole would be a lot better for everybody.
I think, and there's a fine line there, right, Phillip? So we talked about teamwork, we talked about team building, and a lot of guys would use, and myself included from the military, would use kind of those beat downs as camaraderie building. But there's a fine line between camaraderie building and demoralizing. You got to know the line, and you could feel it. Everybody could feel when you've gone over the line of, oh, we're having fun and now I'm hurting this. Stop when it's fun.
Yeah.
Don't take it to the point of hurting someone. That's a huge shout out. That's a huge piece. Phillip, thanks so much for being on the show, for doing what you do up there, for going from Texas up to Wisconsin. Appreciate everything you do. Huge thank you to our guests. Like I said, a huge thank you to all of you listening. Please leave comments, subscribe, reach out if you have any questions. We can bring Phillip back if you have a bunch of questions. We can put him on a joint episode and just have a conversation. Everybody, Phillip, thanks so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.